After this,
may I throw in a bit of slightly extraneous? Anne Hutchison settled at the edge of Upper New York and the Bronx. I think it was about the 1640s, and she was exterminated by the Indians in the 1650s. She came to Massachusetts and was thrown out of Massachusetts. Rhode Island, where she next went, was supposedly pretty tolerant, but she left there as well. Can you throw any light on her settlement here?
What was the question about that?
What do you know anything about Anne Hutchison's settlement here and her extermination? I think she was exterminated by the Indians in 1656.
Yeah.
But she settled here about 8 to 10 years before that. The Hutchison River Parkway.
About all you know more than I do, Ken, about Anne Hutchinson, but. It's a good question if you want to talk about toleration. She was driven out of New England and came to New Netherlands. A lot of dissidents came to New Netherlands, but they still weren't able to practice their own religion. The Quakers weren't, the Lutherans weren't, and so forth, because the official religion was a Reformed religion for one reason or another. But they never hanged anybody for being a Lutheran
or being Quaker,
or being a Quaker.
Unlike
they were still hanging them in Boston in 1650s.
Yes, that's right.
And this is something that you have to understand. The situation of tolerance at that time was freedom of conscience. You can believe in anything you want. You're not going to be forced to recant. You're not going to be tortured. You're not going to be hanged. As long as you don't call a minister and go to a meeting. This was the Lutherans tried it several times. In fact, they petitioned twice in the Beverwijk in the Albany area, because there were a lot of Germans who had come over from northern Germany. There were I figured about 280 people of German origin Lutherans, and Norwegians and Danes. And they petitioned twice to call a minister, and they were refused both times. But they still met in private. And this was this winking. It was a very important concept in the Dutch system at that time. You had to maintain pax et concordia. You had to maintain peace in the community, and you did this by letting things slide and not rile things up.
As long as other religions were not publicly visible, it was sort of okay. In the Dutch Republic you had schuilkerken, hidden churches. Everybody knew where they were. There's even a situation in the 1630s in Amsterdam, a raid on a Catholic congregation. And the Apostolische Vicaris, Sasbout Vosmeer, the direct representative of the Pope, was at that meeting. So he tries to flee by the back door. But at the back door are two burgomasters of Amsterdam. And they look at him, recognize him, look at each other, and quietly step away. Because arresting this man would cause more mayhem than just letting him drift off. Quiet. Keep everything happy, keeping things together. That's that togetherness, that facade of public community. One community, one religion. As long as that facade is there, it doesn't matter what goes on behind closed doors. That's toleration.
Yeah.
It occurs to me you've never mentioned weather. And the weather can be extremely severe. For instance, you mentioned the Germans. I understand the Hessians had big problems. How did the Dutch deal with the weather?
Well, we're in the middle of in the 1650s, we're at the high point of the mini ice age, for one thing. The winters are extremely severe. They're so severe, imagine this, being able to cross the river where the Whitestone Bridge is now on the ice. That was all frozen. The Delaware River was frozen. And this happened practically every winter. It was extremely cold. They burnt everything imaginable to keep warm in the wintertime. This is the winter of 54, 55 I'm talking about. This is why Stuyvesant went to Barbados, I think. He leaves in December of 1654. It doesn't come back until June. But they are ordering farmers to haul wood into Manhattan and so forth for the people to use. It's very severe. And most historians never take this into consideration. That you're dealing with climate problems here. Look at the Dutch genre paintings. How many of them are winterscapes of skating on the ice?
That's right, and we've got 2 in the exhibition as well.
Yes, and this was normal.
And the skate.
This was normal. Now it only happens like once every 17, 18 years, where you have a freezing of all the canals and so forth. It was a different time, and this mini ice age goes from what 1340 to about 1850, I think, is the span of it. And New Netherland is right in the middle of it. It reaches its peak at that time, and they suffer. They cut everything down imaginable. There was more land cleared, I think, in upstate New York around Albany. There probably wasn't a tree standing within 20 miles of Albany, and now you have a lot of woods up there. But it was a different time, and it was a major problem. New Year's, one of the customs was to cross on the ice with sleighs. They visited farmers that they hadn't seen for a long period of time simply because they lived on the other side of the river. And at New Year's they would crisscross on the ice and visit, and they would drink quite a bit and then get back. And sometimes the horses or the whole carriage went through the ice. But it was a different situation. It's a good point to, I don't know if we're getting snow outside now. It was snowing in Albany when I got back the other night from New York, so who knows?
I want to thank you both. It's been a great pleasure to hear you speak.